How's it going, EU4 players? I'd like to talk about a really powerful mechanic in the game known as core creation costs, and more specifically something called coring duration. So core creation costs, as you might know, reduces the amount of admin points that you need to use to core a province, right? And ideally, you'd like to get that as high as possible. You can get it up to a cap of 80%, so you pay 20% coring costs before administrative efficiency. So that could go down to like 10%, it could go down to like 3% in some cases with the Begals, right? But today, we are just going to focus on coring, subtractive coring costs that you can get from like horde ideas, Kazan ideas, Ottoman ideas, Italy, some of these endgame tags and hordes, right? And you can get it from adaptability, which is an administrative national idea that anybody can choose. You can get it from Holy Roman Empire, a reform called Reform the Hofgericht, and that'll give you, as the emperor, 10% forever. So if you start out as like Austria, you can get that and then switch to horde like Tibet and then Koshud or Kalka if you go Vajrayana after revoking the privilegia, right? There's actually a way to get Vajrayana and go as Tibet, and then subsequently fight Ming for the mandate, get the mandate of heaven, and then lose Celestial Empire, which is like a poor, kind of a powerful monarchy in a way, but actually also weak. And you can get whatever government you want. It could be republic, maybe it could be theocracy. Now, republic, of course, doesn't go with Holy Roman Emperor, but basically you can get like the theocracy that Tibet has, and that takes you out of having the Celestial Empire tier 1 reform, so you can have a horde basically. So then you get Li Fan Yuan, which is like a mandate based Emperor of China thing, not Celestial Empire. And using stuff like that, you can very easily get to permanent like 80% core creation costs even without a powerful religion like Hindu. So you could hypothetically do it with stacking that by going to like Zoroastrian or something like that. I mean, you can also like get temporary core creation costs with Yemen, and you can get permanent with Armenia, with Coptic, with their missions. And then there are a lot of sources of temporary CCR that's very powerful for the purpose of like a speedrun world conquest. But what is really powerful about core creation costs is that the time it takes for you to core a province is based on that percentage reduction. So let's say a base time of 36 months to core a province, then you have 75% CCR. That gives you 0.25, 1/4 times 36 is 9 months. And if you get to 80% core creation reduction, it'll give you 7.2 months, which should be floored to 7 as an integer value. So what is the consequence of this is that rebels can only rise 10% per month. So the fastest that rebels can rise from as soon as you take a province would be 10 months. And if you can get 9 months for sure, then you can guarantee a province gets cored and get rid of the overextension. And it's even more extreme with the buffer if you get like 7 months, because any incidental unrest you have, you can handle. Like you can like buffer with getting war exhaustion down, raise your stability, deal with certain events like tribal succession crisis. Overextension over 100 will give you like these revolt events that might give you a little bit of like lasting unrest. But my point is that you can stack unrest reduction with like humanist ideas and like the Hindu religion and its monuments, and you can get your like baseline national unrest like negative like 10, -8, 11, 14. It all depends on your stability. Do you have military hegemon and all these things? But let's say you are doing a fast world conquest or a horde, and you want to core 2000% worth of overextension. Now, normally, 36 months holding on to so much overextension, you're going to have so many rebels everywhere. They're going to collapse your country. You're going to have like armies going back and forth across Asia to try to pacify all of them. It's not going to work. Here, under this circumstance, you could take 10,000% overextension and just core within like 7 months or 9 months, and the overextension for that period of time will cause 75% chance each month of ticking up 10% up to the 100% that we talked about, the 10-month minimum time for rebels to arise. So you still have a month on them that you can get rid of all of the overextension simultaneously by coring all the provinces that you happen to take over. So what does that mean? Overextension in that case can just be a number, and you have to reach a threshold by any of the means we discussed, and there are a decent number of them. Sometimes it's tight, depending on your circumstance, the run you're trying to do. Are you trying to do any tag switches? What's your situation, right? But with a horde, you have all the mana is getting generated from raising, barbaric despoilers, government reform. Core creation cost makes the coring cost, no matter what, basically lower than the amount of mana you raise. And you raise enough mana even at the maximum tech level, like tech 23 mil, lowers your raising monarch points you gain by 1. So like you get 25 base at like level 3, and you get like 6 per amount of development you raise at 23, and it caps there. So like 28 mil tech, 32 mil tech, it doesn't matter. So basically you have enough mana to core the whole world. And once you do that, you just have to figure out, how am I going to get 75% core creation costs? How do you do this? We talked about adaptability. We talked about national ideas that give you 20%. You would just need like court, and you would need administrative ideas, I think it is, and that would give you another 5%. And then like the Hindu religion, the Hindu monument for core creation costs, that's another 20%. And basically centralized power from the horde government reforms, that'll give you 5%. So it'll reach 75% in that way. With 15%, you might have to take economic and divine, which is not viable really. So ideally we're looking for trying to find ways to get 80% ideally, and that can come from like 25% in national ideas like Kazan I discussed, generic horde ideas, stuff like that. Or with that, you don't need court admin as like a policy. But in this case, I discussed earlier, you can tag switch and get through different means, like Holy Roman Empire if you're starting there in Austria, 80%, 75%, very handily. So it's really up to you. I would say that in this case I'm trying to do it with Kaurna, and I'm showing that you can do it with Kaurna without any tag switches, but it's really practical to raise your unrest reduction. So we showed basically how coring duration, core creation cost reduction can make it so that you can have 9 months or 7 months, and in that time you have the ticking up of your separatists, but they can just start ticking down once you get rid of all the overextension by coring everything before they can revolt. But I'd like to note that we've been able to stack years of separatism reduction, which reduces your unrest by 10 from the base, like 15 from separatism. And we have so much national unrest and heathen tolerance through Hinduism and the monuments and our policies and humanism that any rebels that will rise are just from incidental unrest from the overextension, like the events, and and things like war exhaustion and disasters. So I hope this video is really helpful for you, and it explores like one of the most obscure, powerful mechanics besides province war score costs in EU4. Thank you, have a good day.